So today I will be explaining the loanable funds model. So purpose of using the loanable funds model. The loanable funds model is a useful tool for businesses and consumers alike that helps to describe the shifts that may occur in long-term real interest rates. So real interest rates in this model can be defined as nominal interest rates that have been adjusted for the effects of inflation. So this means that they are more useful to businesses and households when making long-term decisions. These include when an individual chooses to buy a house or a large company decides to invest in buying a larger office building. So I just put the model right here as well. And of course, the supply curve is upward shifting and the demand curve is downward shifting. So supply in the loanable funds model. So supply in the loanable funds model is equal to the overall flow of funds from all sectors of the economy into numerous financial markets. So for example, this means the flow of the total savings from the three main sectors, which are households, government, and foreign, into the bond market, stock market, and many others. So for each different sector, we do use different equations when calculating the amount of savings. So for households, we have real GDP plus transfer payments minus taxes minus consumption. So for governments, we have taxes, which of course they receive from all the individuals in the country, minus government spending, plus transfer payments. So of course, transfer payments they give out to people in need, and government spending, which is pretty common sense in this situation. And then for the foreign sector, so the saving in the foreign sector, it is equal to minus net exports, which of course net exports are exports minus imports. And then when we calculate the total saving in the economy, we add all of these up, or in other words, we do real GDP minus consumption minus government spending minus net exports. So as a result of this, the supply in the loanable funds model for Canada can be attributed to the extent at which households save, the amount of government spending, and the extent at which foreign funds are being saved in the financial markets of Canada. So demand and equilibrium in the loanable funds market. So demand is often referred to as investment when talking about the loanable funds market, similar to how supply is equal to saving, and it is depicted as the extent to which firms borrow money to ultimately increase their own infrastructure or capital. So the demands curves relationship to the loanable funds model is fairly intuitive, meaning that when real interest rates are high, firms will borrow less as it costs them more to borrow, and that goes the other way around as well. And then equilibrium in the loanable funds market is where the supply curve upward sloping and the demand curve downward sloping intersect. So this is an extremely useful and important point, as this position of the graph is how we can determine the long run real interest rate. So where they intersect is going to be your real interest rate. And then what shifts the demand and supply curves? So for demand curves, so risk is a big thing that shifts it. So the amount of risk with trying to invest in something, the amount of taxes placed on respective investments and businesses also shift it, or whether or not firms are feeling optimistic, which means added investment, so it would shift right, or pessimistic, less spending, which means it would shift left about the economy as a whole. And then for the supply curve, the willingness for the central government to spend, the desire for consumers to buy a good today instead of waiting for the future, the current taxes being placed on households. So if taxes are high, households are going to have less money to spend. So the saving for households is going to be less, or income, which in other words is how well the economy is doing as a whole. And then my example as well. So this example depicts the long run real interest rate and the equilibrium quantity of loanable funds. So what will occur when businesses are feeling extremely pessimistic about the Canadian economy and expect lower profits moving forward? So if we look at the graph here, when businesses are feeling extremely pessimistic, the graph will shift left as they will want to invest less of course. And as a result of this, this means the real interest rate will also go down right here. And the quantity of loanable funds will also shift left. So my solution, so the demand curve D2, which is just this line right here, will shift to the left, resulting in a lower long run real interest rate for the time being, as well as a lower equilibrium quantity, which of course happens with the shift to the left. So this means that the quantity of saving and investment has decreased as a whole. And then here are my citations as well. And this is just the photo I used for both my slides. So yeah, thanks for watching my crash course on the loanable funds model.